Welcome to another podcast from Adele Technology. Today we're talking to Simon Tarry, the Managing Director for Smith+Nephew for the Nordics, UK and Ireland. Hello, Simon.
Hi, Stephen. How are you?
I'm very well, Simon. Good to see you again. Simon, if I was wondering if you wouldn't mind telling the audience a bit about your background,
Sure.
how you ended up where you are now as a Managing Director of one of the largest MedTech companies in the world, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, sure. I mean, as you rightly say, my role is Managing Director of UK, Ireland and Nordics across our 4 businesses. So I look after the commercial businesses, what we call, a downstream business, where our teams try their best to serve our customers and their patients with our portfolio of tech across the 4 divisions. And I've been at Smith+Nephew for 13 years, of which 7 of them have been as a managing director. So I also looked after a lot of the parts of Northern Europe and Switzerland, Austria, Netherlands, former Eastern Europe. So I suppose I have a broad experience across a number of markets. I started life as a soldier in the Royal Army Medical Corps, where I served as a medic, and I left school at 15, joined the army at a couple of months after my 16th birthday, and was a medic and then a nurse. So I qualified as a registered nurse in the army, and served for 7 years. And someone asked me if I wanted to come into orthopedic implant sales, and I loved it. So I found myself part of a theatre team, although as an outsider, working in orthopedics for a company called helm. I was lucky enough with helm and Stryker to move quite quickly, and had a chance to live in the US looking at upstream marketing. And then I decided to leave and set up a number of my own businesses. And those businesses were really in marketing consultancy, intellectual property, manufacturing, distribution. And then came back into Stryker for a few years, and ran all of their implant businesses in the UK, and their European hips. And then in 2010, Smith+Nephew asked me to come and run their orthopedic business in the UK, and I've been here since 2010. So I've had what I'd call a messy career, and I think it's a huge benefit, actually, because loads of life experience, loads of amazing people, loads of learning in different countries, different cultures. I've had quite a fun career, and it's been hugely kind to me. I'm very grateful of MedTech. What an amazing industry. We get the chance to work with amazing customers, academics, clinicians, nurses, researchers, just amazing people, and same in government and all sorts of different areas. And MedTech's still one of those industries where you can come with hard work, good intelligence, compassion, empathy, and you can make a career that's hugely successful. And there's a lot of industries where you need to have gone to, Oxbridge, and you need to do all, et cetera, et cetera. So that's my career. I've been really lucky, and I'm humbled to be now, part of this great company, and I hope helping them and our customers as well. So that's the career. I did end up getting a degree. I took a degree in 2017 through the Open University. In my spare time, I did a history BA honours history degree, which I loved. So there we are.
Excellent. All right. Well, I think what's probably important for the audience is to understand what Smith+Nephew is today. When you came into Smith+Nephew, and the differences that you and the teams that you've been working with, and I stress that with you because you work with people. When you came into Smith+Nephew, what is the difference between then and between when you came in and now?
What a very good question. Well, the first thing I think that I always think about with teams is obviously people, and so you can do anything with numbers and strategic planning but ultimately the thing that will make any team succeed is its people, and that starts at the top and at the leadership level. And so the first thing that I did was I tried to work with the existing team, and we made some quite quick decisions about changes in the team. Some of the team, wanted to try something different. Some of them it wasn't working, but we made some changes pretty quickly. And what I try to do is I try to find people who I feel are just really energized by what we need to do. I like to work with clever people who challenge you, and sometimes that can be difficult because they're quite often cleverer than you are, and but they bring a huge amount to the table, and people who I want to spend time with, so that when you meet them, you go, oh, I want to be with you, and people with emotional intelligence. I like to work with people who are sensitive and kind.
Absolutely.
And I know that's not true. That's not always been popular in business, has it?
No, but I think it's very important in this industry because it's a people industry.
That's right. Yeah, it is. And you have to make decisions in MedTech, which sometimes don't feel like the best decision always for the business, but normally those decisions result in business terms, like a transfer of value, right? If your customers in MedTech know that you care and that you'll have a patient-centered approach, and that you'll go that extra mile, whatever it takes, because that's what they do for their patients, right? That's what they do every day. And so that's what they expect from us. And so I think that's, I'm looking for people who've got that empathetic approach and that kindness in their thought processes, but they need to be clever, they need to be hardworking, and they need to be people you want to spend time with, and have learning agility so that they can learn quickly and change direction. So those are sort of things I'm looking for. And sounds a lot, doesn't it? And now when I say it out loud, but that's I think the first set of changes I made were around people. And then I think with any business, what I've learned over the years is you need to make space in the business, in the maths of the business, in order to allow the business to breathe and make decisions. And you do that in a number of ways. First of all, you have to make sure that just the maths work, that you're not breaking it's no difference to your household budget, is it really? If you're not managing things well at home on your household budget, everything's difficult because you've not really got money. You have to cancel your holiday. You have to sell the car, and so it's no different in business. If you construct your business properly in terms of its operating expenses and what you know about what you can achieve, then it gives you breathing space to make decisions and to invest in growth and invest in the right program. So people, leadership, absolutely quickly, strongly get things under control around your operating model and your financials. Look at the facts then, and build a plan based on facts, not myths and hopes. and then simplify things. Make it really clear what your priorities are and stick to the plan. And I think so. I'd like to think those things are in place now, that we've got a business that's strong in terms of its financials, that we're well future-proof to make decisions, invest in growth, invest in people without always having a stop-start because things are, we've got a plan that is based on facts. So again, we build a reputation around, we do what we say we're going to do, right? This is the plan, we're going to do it. And so some people may have more inspirational plans. Some people may have much more conservative plans and over-deliver, but we tend to build plans that we come close to, just under, just over, we deliver the plan. So good people who do what they say they're going to do, you can trust them, you want to spend time with empathy, and a strong plan, very clear, very focused. This is what we're doing. These are our priorities, strong financials. And I think that's hopefully what you'd find. So I think the business is in good shape, and we're in good shape to be able to deliver on our commitments to, our customers and patients.
Absolutely. And I think over the time you've been there, Simon, you've also had the challenge of COVID.
Yeah.
Which I was very challenging.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I think if your business is, more than 50%, more than 60% reliable on elective procedures, then, you're going to really struggle. And, we're certainly a company that's in that shape. So it does mean that our revenues went down very significantly during COVID, and our profits went down very significantly. But we made some early decisions that I think were the right ones. We didn't furlough. Smith+Nephew didn't furlough anybody in my commercial business. Nobody lost their job because of COVID. We also put in incredibly strong well-being programs. We connected all our employees, like I know lots of companies did. Every day we work with. I had the fittest sales force in the world. They were doing Pilates and mindfulness every day. So we connected everybody, and we encouraged people to train and to learn and to keep well and keep connected with customers and to do everything we possibly could. So we didn't furlough anybody. We also tried to respond to the needs of our communities. So a number of our staff, we have a wound management business, a wound care business, and many of our teams are ex-nurses. And so we encouraged people to go back to nursing if they wanted to and help, and we made that possible. We converted our factory to make ventilators, which we did with Oxford and King's, and we made lots of ventilators, which was amazing. Got them through the MHRA process and everything else, and we did it as an open platform intellectual property project. So they're now being built in the emerging markets and doing good things there. So I think we did lots of things that we could be proud of, and part of those decisions, I think, were born out of the fact that Smith+Nephew is the largest British medtech, and it has a duty of care to the NHS, and our teams feel that. They feel that. We at our hearts, I suppose, we're a wound care company. We're still based in Hull. We still produce more than 20 million, closer to 25 million dressings a year there, and they go out around the globe. And because I think our heart is wound care, we're very close, I hope, to the nursing community, and we have a duty of care to the NHS. So we tried to do everything we could. We didn't get everything right, but I think everything we did do, and we participated strongly in a variety of committees and groups to try and help COVID response. And I think we should be proud of what we did. Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. I know that you're on the ABHI board.
Yeah.
And I know that I know that Smith+Nephew was very much involved in innovation. The success of many of the wound care products, the Pico. You were first to market in many ways with the Navio.
Yeah. I think part of again, a lot of people don't realise, first of all, that we're still a British company, right? One of the original FTSE 50, remain on the FTSE today. And most of us, in some way or shape or another, invested in Smith+Nephew because we're a very safe house for pension funds. And so I'm passionate about us remaining British. And in order to do that and to be successful for investors, we have to innovate. And Smith+Nephew has been absolutely at the leading edge, as you quite rightly say. If you think about our wound care business, first transparent dressing, Opsite, right? Look at what we've achieved with negative pressure wound therapy, with our Renesis device, but also with Pico, as you rightly say, the really first mobile portable, pocket-sized negative pressure wound therapy, with probably the best evidence base in the world for any MedTech device, actually. And so we've got a wonderful history of firsts. One of the first companies to really launch surgical robotics with Navio, which is now called Cori, or Cori Surgical Robotics System. And many of the first, if you look at the work with our Elizaroff and Taylor spatial framing for limb restoration and bone transport. So there's a huge number of firsts and innovations that Smith+Nephew have brought to the table, and we continue to do that. If you look at our sports medicine portfolio, we've got an amazing tissue patch for cuff repair called Regeniten, which again is slowly being shown to be a game changer for difficult cuff repairs. And it's important to make sure, if you think about those three technologies, right? You think about surgical robotics. There's a lot of evidence still required for surgical robotics, but what we do know is the ecosystem that you can work on and that you naturally work on using surgical robotics means that you will improve productivity, efficiency, you will decrease comorbidities, pain, blood loss. You will improve accuracy of placement of implants so that you'll get less readmissions due to malpositioning and things. So although the jury's out for the medium to the long-term benefits around survival and function, the early signs in those areas are very positive. But we do know today that if you put surgical robotics into your theatre and start using it in the pathway, it improves the lives of patients and staff, and it makes you more productive. And why wouldn't it? Because robotics works in every single walk of life, right? And so I think that's a very useful journey that we are on as an industry, and Smith+Nephew's at the forefront of it with Cori and our Real Intelligence program. If you think about Regeniten, right? If you think the shoulder, what an interesting thing the shoulder is. Because people talk about hips and knees and hearts and all the rest of our very important MedTech, but the shoulder's the joint. If you think about it, if you can't use your shoulder as an older person, like me and you, is you can't get out of a chair, you can't brush your hair, you can't feed yourself, you can't look after your personal hygiene, and etc. Your shoulder is a joint that affects almost every single aspect of your life. And so there's groups of people there with tears, cuff tears, it's awfully painful and resistant to healing. And so Regeniten has a real place for the future, I think, as a tissue solution. And then Pico, of course. Again, you think about the current elective recovery, people forget about the power of wound care. You and me have talked about this for hours. It's because it's not sexy, isn't it? Digital, genomics. But actually, simple wound care done properly, just stick to the evidence, just try to use good quality. I'm not talking about rocket science dressings, but good quality dressings with sticking to good protocols, evidence-based, reducing the variation in treatment, as it were. It can make a huge difference to people's lives. Keep them out of hospital, reduce the number of district nurse visits, releasing beds. There's so much work to be done in wound care, and it goes across every single specialty, whether, a patient who has the most amazing surgery and treatment for their cancer, if their wound fails, it's miserable. A woman who has a cesarean section, somebody with a diabetic foot ulcer. So if you think about all of the areas, it's because it's not sexy, it tends to fall under the radar. But I think, and that's why I'm so passionate about a product like Pico, because it has the ability to transform people's lives. Somebody who has, Pico is one of those dressings, one of those products which actively assists healing. It's not just a covering. So negative pressure wound therapy in that way could get patients out of hospital earlier, get them home with their families, get them up and mobile for £120. You know, so it's, from my perspective, it's a game changer, good, nice guidance. So yeah, you know, you can hear probably from me that Smith+Nephew is still at the forefront of innovation, and that's important, I think, for everybody.
I would agree. And I think that the other thing that's been wonderful about your term in office is you've been able to sit down with a lot of senior key opinion leaders and perhaps hospital directors and come up with innovative ways of introducing the technology. And I think that rather than just a standard transaction, you've done a lot of interesting things in that area.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the things that I would say, and I think you'd agree with, Stephen, is that sometimes you have to be a bit brave, don't you? And so what I'm interested in, and I think people are sometimes put off by it, you know, I think the NHS sometimes can't deprogram it, so they always think that the industry is trying to tuck them up. But you know, maybe sometimes it is. It's difficult, isn't it? Because you've got to get a synergy between understanding that great innovation only comes to bear for the patient and communities when you find an amazing, significant shared need, and you bring together clinicians, carers, academia, payers like the government, and industry, because the best idea kept in the basement doesn't help anybody, you know.
Absolutely.
And it's got to be paid for. Somebody's still got to pay for it, unfortunately. And so I think there is a different way of thinking. And I think people sometimes, you have to be brave to take on some of these things. And we've tried to work with outcome-based contracting. We've tried to work to develop programs where we recognize that a lot of the wound care portfolio is commoditized, but by working closer with our nursing partners and our clinical partners across the board and with payers, we can think about the portfolio impact of reducing variation in practice, of using, you know, the best quality dressings you can afford, finding the best price, however we can do that, and sharing in the success of healing and treating patients well and getting great returns. So I think that's one of the big changes I've tried to instigate here on a wound management business, is to think less about spending money on lots and lots of people, but try to invest in end-to-end pathway programs that deliver value for patients and customers, and try and convince people it's worth doing business with Smith+Nephew in as a portfolio and as a partner, not just transactionally to buy one thing. And I think that's true across many areas of MedTech, that we could be more innovative the way we do business together. We work together, we partner and collaborate. And if we do that, we could bring more value to patients and pathways and programs, you know, communities.
That's fantastic. Simon, I just wanted to thank you very much for your time today. You've been wonderful.
It's all right.
And it's always a pleasure to see you. So thank you. And I wish you very good, a great success in the future.
Yeah, brilliant.
And thank you for your time.
No, thank you, Stephen, and thanks to you and Odell for the strategic irritation you always give me, and I know that you guys care as well, which makes you different. So well done.
Very kind of you. Thank you very much, Simon.